My name is Susan Reed. We are coming to you today from Port-au-Port, Newfoundland. I will be making Susan's signature lasagna. Ground sausage can be beef or pork. The only difference is that it's seasoned. One of our main ingredients is ground sausage. I have purchased the sausage in the casing, and I simply decase them by holding the sausage, squeezing from the center, and removing all of the ground pork. Okay, we're going to be using about 2 pounds, and we're going to brown them in a frying pan. One thing about sausage, it is ground pork or ground beef usually, and the only difference is it's already seasoned. When using fresh thyme, I like to tie 4 or 5 sprigs together and add it to the meat I'm cooking. You would take it out just prior to adding any other vegetables. When preparing your potatoes, we want to cut them in 1/4 inch slices placed on a greased pan with salt and pepper for 20 minutes on 400 degrees. When cooking celery, remember, you may want it large or small. If you want it small, trim it from end to end in julienne strips and then chop them small from then on. One of the ingredients going in our sausage is celery. If you really like celery, you can leave the portions a little bit bigger, or if you don't like it so much, you can chop it very fine. What I like to do is take the celery from one end and come down and cut them in small julienne, and then we get a fine chop. We're going to need about 2 cups for our sausage. When chopping an onion, a tip I always like to use is once chopped in half and the skin is removed, we're going to chop diagonally towards the root, not all the way. Then we're going to cut it cross-section from that, and then we have perfectly finely chopped onions. We're going to take off our end pieces, and you hold your hand on top, keeping your fingers out of the way. You cut back almost to the root, but not completely. On 2 or 3, depending on how big your onion is. Then we're going to cut straightways in, again, not all the way back to the root edge. And then we get the fine chopped onion, which is perfect for our sausage. When using garlic, I like to chop and crush. I put the flat side of the knife on the garlic, give it a nice hard punch, and the skin is easily removed, and you're all ready for chopping. The next ingredient is garlic, the gold of almost every dish. We're going to use 3 cloves. And what we're going to do is we're going to crush them to break it away from the outer. And we're going to cut through it, keeping your fingers away. With such a small item, we definitely don't want to get our fingers involved. The next ingredient is mushrooms, and I am going to fry them up and reduce them, but I want to keep them a little bit large. First of all, in cleaning mushrooms, you just rub on the outside. Mushrooms are like a sponge and don't like a lot of water. We cut off the outer stem and we slice in 1/4 inch. We will need about 2 cups of mushrooms for this dish. Sprigs of thyme, celery, onion, and our browning ground beef. The only thing left is our garlic. The next major ingredient is our bechamel, and for that we're going to use our feature ingredient, which is our cream cheese. We're going to go ahead and whip that with 3 egg yolks with a little bit of lemon zest. This will liven it up and lighten up the recipe. Just whip until smooth. Doesn't have to be completely, it'll finish melting in the roux. Okay, this is not too slow of a process, but we definitely don't want to have our heat on too high. We're going to let our butter melt and make our roux. We're going to make a paste, and then we're going to gradually add the milk. This is a very gradual process. What you have to keep in mind that the bechamel along with the cheese is a cream, so you want to keep the cream consistency throughout the process. And ultimately we'll get a paste, and if you feel that the paste is too dry, you may not need all your flour, and that's something that you'll just have to use your judgment. And once the bechamel is somewhat cooled, we can go ahead and add our egg and cream cheese and lemon zest. We're just going to gradually add it and whisk it to make sure it combines nicely. And it's this cream that makes this part of the meal the dream. We're ready for assembly. The first thing we want to do is put a bit of oil in the bottom. I'm using canola oil. A tip I have for spreading the oil without getting your hands dirty at this point is using a small baggie or plastic bag. Once the pan is greased, we are ready to put our first layer of potato. The next layer would be our sausage mixture, and we're going to put the entire sausage mixture covering the potatoes. Another layer of potato. Once we have that covered, we will add our mushroom mixture. And last, but certainly not least, is our bechamel mixture. We're going to sprinkle a little bit of Parmesan, which is going to brown nicely. And we're going to place this in the oven for 400 for approximately 30 to 35 minutes until the top is a nice golden fluffy brown.